welcome then to the program, and thank you for joining us. Let me ask you first, when we look at the situation in Gaza, many people will feel despair about the prospects of progress leading to some kind of peaceful settlement. Do you feel despair? And if not, why not?
No, I don't feel despair. I feel hope, actually. And I feel hope because finally Israel has been exposed to the entire world that this is a system of oppression, a system of collective punishment, of ethnic cleansing, of genocide. Now, the International Court of Justice, the highest court of the globe, has admitted Israel and has officially accepted to put Israel on trial for genocide. This is a moment of hope and of working together to make sure that Gaza will never see the same situation again. What has happened is beyond description. You're talking about the destruction of an entire area and the destruction of people's homes, the murder of tens of thousands, mostly children and women, as you have been reporting in the media. And we want to make sure this does not happen again. And we want to make sure that Israel does not push all the way to implement its actual plan. And by the way, many commentators have been saying Israel doesn't have a plan. It doesn't look like it knows what it's doing. That's not true. Israel knows what it is doing. There is a plan, and the plan is what it has done, making Gaza unlivable, making Gaza lifeless. So now the huge challenge we have is to bring life back to Gaza and to make sure people's rights are respected. And then we go all the way to resolving the issue altogether and uproot the root cause of it, which is the occupation. Gaza is part of Palestine. We cannot resolve Gaza in a partial.
I do want to address the future in just a moment. I suppose I should just in passing point out, the International Court did not find Israel in any way guilty of genocide, did they? They urged Israel to refrain from acts that could be seen as conducive to genocide.
No, that's not accurate, John. The International Court of Justice, first of all, ordered Israel to stop killing Palestinians, to stop preventing humanitarian aid from arriving and basic materials, to stop tampering with any evidence of genocide, and to report back to the Hague, back to the ICJ in 1 month. That's the number one, which, by the way, if you put all this together, stop targeting civilian structures, houses, if you put all this together, it's ceasefire. The ICJ ordered Israel for an immediate ceasefire. But the second part is that the ICJ has accepted South Africa's case against Israel of committing genocide. They found
Ambassador, forgive me.
This case to be plausible.
I don't want to focus. Forgive me, Anders. I don't want to focus this conversation on the ICJ.
It is important.
We widely reported that a couple of weeks ago. You've given me your interpretation. I've suggested to you.
It's not my interpretation, John. Don't make it sound like my interpretation. This is the interpretation of the highest judicial system of the world. Read their statement, please. So this is not about narratives now. This is law. This is the law. The judges have ruled that Israel is officially on trial for genocide. So do not undermine that moment for us, the Palestinians, and for the rest of the people of the world who are desperately seeking accountability and justice.
Okay, you've made that point, and you've heard my the point that I've made. But I want to move on. You say you're hopeful for the future. What hope is there for the future? Let me ask you this more specifically then. Israel, the United States, and Egypt and Qatar have, it seems, drafted a deal for a phased release of the hostages held by Hamas, which will be accompanied by a program of ceasefires with aid allowed in. Do you see any prospect of that deal working, Ambassador?
Well, issues of hostage exchange is very straightforward. There are international standards for it. And I think the Qatar, Egypt, with the help of other countries, have been offering very, very workable, practical formulas from day one. And a part of the hostages have been exchanged. But we need to also focus on the fact that Israel has taken more than 6,000 Palestinians since the beginning of this in October, hostages. 6,000 without trial, without charge, without anything. Many of them are children, by the way. So we need hostage exchange here, and we need the world to understand that we have people rounded without any legal merit. And this formula is offered, and it was Netanyahu that blocked this formula months ago because he does not, and he is not interested in stopping the war. He knows the moment the war stops, his political career is over and he will end up in jail. And not only he doesn't want to see a hostage exchange, and you know that Israel has killed many of its own hostages, but he wants to drag the whole world into a regional conflict, and you see how much and how fast it is spreading. So there is a formula for hostage exchange, and so far Israel is not accepting it.
Yes, when I say there's no remotely clear prospects of any kind of accommodation or agreement, Hamas have not given any indication of being prepared to withdraw their continuing permanent threat to Israel. They're still dedicated to the removal of Israel as a state, aren't they? And as you say, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli leader, shows no sign of offering a permanent ceasefire, which Hamas and others have been seeking.
Hang on,
There's no clear way to reach an accommodation, is there?
Hang on. We have to unpack your question. I mean, Hamas calls for the eradication of Israel. It was officially, publicly declared that Israel is after the eradication of not only Hamas, but the entire Gaza. And, you know, if you're talking about political statements and charters, you know, the Likud party, that is the governing party in Israel, has it in its charter that Israel shall be in the area from the river to the sea. They don't recognize our existence. Some of their most senior ministers only recently have even included a map that includes the entire Palestine and Jordan, for that matter. That's Smotrich, the finance minister, and it was here in Europe. He declared that, and he has that map in front of him. The prime minister of Israel went to the UN, only the last General Assembly, with a map of Israel showing the entire area of historic Palestine. So let's not talk about who's erasing who. It's Israel that has been erasing the Palestinian people and stealing our land for the last 75 years, non-stop. Nobody wants to erase anybody except this colonial project that has got to end. So the root cause of all this is the occupation. The root cause of all this is the colonization, is the besiegement. And I assure you, the moment that ends is a moment when we embrace on a different journey, and when you and I will have a different conversation.
Well, maybe so. It is a matter of fact, though, that Hamas is opposed to Israel as a state, and they have not stepped back from their threat after the October the 7th attacks. You don't deny the existence of those, I know. They've given no undertaking of any kind that they would not be repeated in the future. What you say about Benjamin Netanyahu, we hear that clearly. But it is also true what I have said about Hamas. Those are facts.
You may want to interview a Hamas spokesman for that. I represent the PLO and the Palestinian people here.
I understand that. But the war is between Israel and Hamas.
Okay. I represent. No. I'm sorry. No, the war is between Israel and the Palestinian people, and it's not a war. You cannot call it a war, John. That's why we need to clarify all these terminologies that have lasted for a long time. How can you call an occupier engaged in an act of repression for 75 years against a people a war? War happened between two armies, two states. That's number one. Number two, it is us who have the right to self-defense. And again, John, this is international law. It's very clear. International law is clear. The party that is engaged in occupation, colonization, repression has no right to self-defense. This is not under that banner. And you know that so-called right to self-defense has been taken as a cover for genocide. So let's go back to the basics here. The basics. This is a people's struggle for 100 years. We have been at it because we have been denied our peoplehood and our statehood. We have been denied to be treated equally like all other nations. And guess who started that denial? It was the Great Britain, the colonial Britain, the Balfour Declaration. So let's not reduce it to this moment. History did not begin on this.
Okay, I understand you want to take the opportunity to make a point, which clearly you feel with a great deal of passion. But I want to look, if I may, just at the situation now and where we may be going in the future. The United States, they want a two-state solution. The British Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, has now discussed the recognition of a Palestinian state during negotiations and not waiting for peace. There is pressure building on Israel to accept that principle. What is to bring progress about, do you believe?
Well, the main progress is that the world will see this case as it is, without all the deflation and deflection and diversion and the politics of the last 30 years of lip service. the two-state solution. What do we mean by two-state solution? As if there are no two states. There is already a state called Israel, recognized by the world, and has a seat in the UN. That state is occupying the other state. That's the whole matter. So once that state, Israel, ends its occupation of the other state will be established with sovereignty and independence in accordance with international consensus, including the UK government position. Hence, Lord Cameron's announcement was important, because recognition has got nothing to do with a final peace agreement. Recognition is a Palestinian right. It's our right. It's a birthright, our right of self-determination and our right to statehood and sovereignty. And recognition is also the best shot in the arm for a two-state solution. This is how you resuscitate it's not an outcome of it. It's an entry point to a solution. And I think the secretary was very successfully, rather, painting the picture as it should be and providing a policy that could work.